Hi everybody. Hey, this is Carol Hill, and this is part 2 of our U.S. South Facebook event, How to Find Tennessee Ancestors in the Early 1800s. So today we are going to be talking about finding answers in the pre-1850 census records. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. Day 1 yesterday, we talked about finding your ancestors in everything from 1850 on, as long as you can find them till you can find them deceased or you lose track of them. So important to do that. And so if you missed it, I will have a link to the first video on this video so that you can go ahead and check that one out too. But anyway, today we're going to talk about looking at census records pre-1850. And as most of you know, the U.S. Census Records began in 1790 and they were taking every 10 years. But with the pre-1850 census records, they only list the names of the heads of households, and then they'll list how many females and their ages and how many males and their ages, and also slaves. But even though it's limited information, you can still determine a lot from these. And each of the census years before 1850 is a little bit different. And one tip I wanted to bring up is that sometimes it's really hard to read the column headings on these old census records. So what I like to do is pull up a blank census page and print it out and then compare it to the actual record so that I don't miss any check marks. So this link here, if you want to pause the video for a minute, this link below will take you to blank census forms on Ancestry. And I don't think you have to be a member to see these, but I like to go ahead and print some of those out if that's something that will help you to keep track. Okay, so I wanted to show you an 1840 census. So this is an example, and this is from Ancestry.com, and this is just a blank census. And what you'll see is you will see what state and county they live in. And then you will see over here under names of heads of families, you're going to go ahead and just see the head of the family, his name, and then next is the males, and it'll be all the males under 5. There may be 1 or 2 or 3. And so on 5 and under, you'll see those, and then all the way up to 100. If someone's in 100 that's a male, then he would be listed there. And then you'll go to females, and then free colored persons. Down here, it even goes over to slaves, number of persons in each family employed in a specific occupation, pensioners from revolutionary or military services, deaf, dumb, and blind, and schools. So this is a lot different than the other ones, but still you'll be able to determine a lot of information from this when they're living here on the 1840. So this is an example of the 1800 census, and as you can see, there's not as much information on this that the census taker had to fill out for each family. And so that's why it's important to know the difference, but still you can glean a lot. Even from this, you can figure out what the family dynamics would have looked like. So let's go ahead. Previously in our first video, we talked about Alfred Langley, and we had found him 1840 up to 1880. So let's go ahead and find him now in the 1840 census. So to do that, let's review the 1850. He was living, remember, in Van Buren, Arkansas. And so where do you think he should be living in 1840? Look at the birth of the children, and if you look at that, you'll see that they were born in Tennessee. And so he should be in Tennessee during that time. So, and as I thought about it, just looking from this 1850 census, Alfred Langley, his family should look like this, just looking at this census. So he should have 1 male, 5 and under, 1 male, 20 to 30, which would be himself. He would be 29, 2 females under 5, and then 1 female, 20 to 30. So if you just look at the family down to Elizabeth Langley, then this is what it would look like. Now, they may have had some others, maybe some of these, maybe they have someone older than this, William Langley, and also maybe some that had died that would have been on the 1840 census. But anyway, just gives you at least something to think about how it would have looked. Okay, so as I mentioned in the last video, make sure to look at the census images. Now, I couldn't find Alfred Langley in the 1840 census listed as head of household, but I did find in this Maury County, Tennessee, a John Langley, and then there's some Mayfields living in this county. Next to Langley, there's also some Sharps. And if you remember from our previous video, Alfred's wife, Elizabeth Sharp Langley, she was from Maury County. She was born in Maury County according to the find-a-grave in 1811. And it says she was the daughter of William Willis Sharp and Eleanor Mayfield. So this, I believe, is the family. And even though that we can't find Alfred in the census, he may have been living with these Mayfields or these Sharps. So something that you could look at and see if that might be a possibility, which I really think it is. I think this is where he is, unless he got missed in the census. Okay, so, and if we look closely, I have this covered up now, but this John Langley, he was between 50 and 59, and Alfred would have been, 29 years old. So this John could be his dad, but we don't have that connection yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and find Maury County on a map. And so here is Maury County. It's right kind of in the middle, a little bit on the western side of Tennessee. And I got this again from the Random Acts of Genealogical Kindness.org. This is this map where you can preview whatever census year you're looking at, or whatever year you would like to look at to see the changes in the county. But that's where Maury County is in 1840. Okay, so let's try to find him in the 1830 census. And I looked for this John Langley, and I looked for other Langleys in the area. And this is the only one I could come up with. This is John Langley. And in this census, Alfred would have been 19 years old. And so if you can see here, this column says that there were 2 males for this John Langley that were in between 15 and 20, 15 and under 20. And then this male, this John Langley, would have been age 50 and under 60. And then there's also that's 60 and under 70. That's what I was thinking after that. And then there's also a female, 50 and under 60. And so let's see where, let me go back. This is Hickman County, Tennessee. So this one Alfred could be right here with John Langley in Hickman County, Tennessee. So if we look at Hickman County, there's Hickman County right here, and right to the side is Maury. So, for those of you that have done a lot of genealogy, you know that they could be in Hickman, they could have been in Maury and then in Hickman, or vice versa, and the county lines may have changed a little bit. I don't think they did, but they could have been in the same place, and the county changed a little bit. So let's go ahead and look at these two and see what we think. So this is the John Langley in 1830 in Hickman County, Tennessee, and this shows him, his male, he would be 60 to 69 years old. So over here in Maury County, this John Langley is 50 to 59. So, and the John Langley on this side in 1840 would have been 10 years older, so should be 70 to 79. So could this one in 1830 be John Sr. and maybe had died and this is his son? It's just hard to know, but just gives you an idea of possibilities that we're going to keep track of and write down, right? Okay, so the previous image, you remember I printed out the 1830 census image of this one, and it didn't show this female. Right here on the transcription, it doesn't have the female between 50 and 60. But since Mary was 74 in 1850, which we think is probably Alfred's mother, this could be her on the 1830 census, because she would have been about 54 possibly. All right, so one other thing that I found that kind of helps prove this hypothesis that I've come up with is that just on Ancestry, they had this 1836 tax list of Hickman County. And we're going to be having later in the week a discussion on tax records and how valuable those are and finding these early ancestors. So in 1836, we can see there's Alfred A. Langley. There's this John Langley, and whether that's the one that's 70 or the younger one, I'm not sure yet. And then there's also some Mayfields. So I believe that this is Alfred with his family, and some more things that you can keep track of as you go back and kind of put things together. So I believe he was in Hickman and then in that Maury County. Okay, so let's step back into the 1820. We've got the 40, the 30. We actually haven't gotten Alfred as a head of a household. But let's go back to the 1820 census. And I searched for Langley in Tennessee, and I realized from the original information on the Facebook post, Alfred was born in Wilson County, Tennessee in 1810. I believe that this could be his father, John Langley, in the 1820 census. Alfred would have been, so if he was born in 1810, he would have been 10 years old. So he's either under 10 here or the male that's 10 to 15. And then John, his dad, if he was 60 in the 1830 census, he's going to still be pretty old, so he's going to be over 45. And then also this lines up with his mother. Mother would have been about 44, so this lines up with her too. And then also from this, we don't know any of Alfred's siblings. And so just from this census record, you can see there's a possibility of 4 brothers and 2 sisters. And they could, there could be other people living with them besides siblings, but at least just gives you an idea to start with. Okay, so let's see where Wilson County, Tennessee is. Maury was right here and Hickman was right here. And so Wilson County is in a good spot. It's not way over here and they moved really far, but could be likely that that's really him. Okay, so from this census, we should see if we can find him in the 1810 census. And I can't find the 1810 census. The only one that you can find for Tennessee right now is Rutherford County. So this could be him in the North Carolina census, possibly. So if we go to 1800, we search for this John Langley. This is the one that came up, but I don't really have any idea on this. But just as a possibility to keep track, since from the 1880 census, if you remember from the first census, his parents were supposed to have been born in North Carolina. And so if we look and see where this Onslow County, North Carolina is, it's down here on the coast. So just something to keep track of, but probably nothing that we can really do a lot with yet. So in conclusion, what do we know now? Okay, in the 1840 census, probably Maury County, Tennessee, living with his wife's parents. 1830, Hickman County, Tennessee, maybe living with his father, John. 1820, Wilson County, Tennessee, living probably with his father, John. 1810 is not available. 1800, possibly North Carolina. Big maybe so far, but a possibility. So what's really nice about doing these searches in these old census records is that we have places now to look for other records. So I want to challenge each of you to find your ancestor in all of the early census records that you can. Be sure to look at the census image, check out the neighbors. If you can't find, where I didn't find any Alfred Langleys, look for last names and see and look for neighbors and see if you can figure out some information just from that. Make sure that you make notes of the county they're living in for each census year, because you're going to want to look for records later on. Print out a blank census image and transcribe the original image so it's easier to read. And just remember, the information found on the census records may not be accurate, but it will be very valuable. So hopefully this will help. I would love to hear what you find, and happy hunting.